Chuckles in the News. The American Broadcasting Company presents 5 minutes of the most unusual happenings of the day. The stories about the little people who never make the headlines. Funny things that happen to you and your neighbors. Plus, our most unusual story of the day. This is Don Dowd, and here's our first Chuckle in the News. In Jefferson City, Missouri, Governor Phil Donnally of Missouri is all set to teach Governor Harry Kelly of Michigan a little about state capitals. It seems that the Michigan governor invited Donnally to a dinner and tea at his residence. But Kelly sent the invitation to St. Charles. St. Charles hasn't been the capital of Missouri since 1825. Just for the record, the invitation should have gone to Jefferson City, which is the capital of Missouri. For years, Fire Chief Sam Crow of Decatur, Illinois, has campaigned vigorously against the habit of smoking in bed. Now, Crow admits sheepishly to friends that he himself smoked in bed while he was in the hospital recently with a brief illness. And the fire chief confesses that he got just what he deserved. Crow says not only is it a bad habit, but besides that, he set fire to his pajamas. Now, he's campaigning more vigorously than ever against smoking in bed. In Boston, a tugload of wax went out to meet an incoming troop ship from Europe. As the tug approached the big liner, the wax began screaming, "First one over gets kissed." Well, Staff Sergeant Tommy Carpenter of Hamburg, Arkansas, took the invitation literally. Sergeant Carpenter leaped from the transport, swam to the tugboat, and was hauled aboard by the excited wax. "Boy," said Carpenter 10 minutes later, wiping huge smears of lipstick from his face, "this is what I call a reception." Well, here's another one from the fighting front on Okinawa. An American patrol was in a dangerous spot. The Yanks were surrounded on 3 sides by Japs. There was only one path of escape open, and that was over a cliff to the rear. The doughboys started the dangerous climb. Halfway down, one GI turned to the company chaplain, who had been trapped with them, and asked, "Do you think we'll make it all right, Padre?" The chaplain looked at the soldier and replied, "Well, I'm praying hard." The GI turned to his companions and shouted, "Let's stick with the chaplain, fellas. I think he's got connections." A Kansas City man was knocked unconscious while rolling up his automobile window when lightning struck near his home. A house guest gave him artificial respiration, and an ambulance was called. When the hospital attendants arrived, they found the victim hale and hearty. In fact, he had not only recovered completely, but he was 30 cents ahead in a card game. In Salt Lake City, there was great excitement when a convict escaped from the Utah State Prison. Suddenly, the telephone rang in the office of Warden John E. Harris. The escaped convict was at the other end of the line. "Warden," he said, "I've only been out 25 minutes, and already I realize I've made a mistake. Will you take me back in?" "Come right back," replied the amazed warden. "Okay," said the convict, "and you might as well save the prison guards a trip. I'll come back by myself." The fugitive showed up on time. And now for our most unusual story of the day. In Mobile, Alabama, a defendant charged with disturbing the peace appeared before Judge Tisdale Tort. The judge took a good look at the man and exclaimed, "Weren't you here before on a similar charge, and didn't you promise not to be back in my court again?" The defendant admitted sadly that it was all too true. "Well," said the judge, "you got away with a $50 fine last time. Now, if you were me, what would you do this time?" "Well, Your Honor," said the accused man, "I'd double the fine." The judge did, and called $100 fine. And that winds up our Chuckles in the News for today. Tune in tomorrow at the same time when we'll again bring you the Chuckles in the News, plus our most unusual story of the day. This is Don Dowd speaking, and this is the American Broadcasting Company. Chuckles in the News. The American Broadcasting Company presents 5 minutes of the most unusual happenings of the day. The stories about the little people who never make the headlines. Funny things that happen to you and your neighbors. Plus our most unusual story of the day. This is Don Dowd, and here's our first Chuckle in the News. At Vancouver, Washington, one mighty puzzled Army Air Corps veteran watched the launching of the troop ship Ernie Pyle. The veteran turned to shipbuilder Edgar Kaiser and asked, "Can you tell me why 2 bottles of champagne are always used in launching a vessel?" Kaiser obliged. He explained that 1 bottle of champagne is for the sponsor of the ship and the other in case she misses the first time. "But," said the soldier, "the sponsor didn't miss the first time." Kaiser got the point, and the Army veteran got the 2nd bottle of champagne. In Weiser, Idaho, reports reached the Washington County Commissioners. reports saying that the country roads were in mighty bad condition. The complaints became so numerous that the commissioners finally decided to investigate. They drove out to look over the roads, and they found that the reports weren't a bit exaggerated. The commissioners got stuck in the mud. In Kansas City, Miss Louise Sims wasn't too disturbed when she found that thieves had broken into her home and stolen 2 dress pins valued at $50. But when Miss Sims discovered that the thieves also had taken her almost impossible-to-replace alarm clock, well, that was just too much. She called the police. In Mattoon, Illinois, most of the city's restaurants have closed their doors. Reason? No food, no points, and no help for it. Now, Mattoon, a city of 15,000 people, has become a BYOL town. That is, bring your own lunch. Well, here's a strange story from Winslow, Arizona. 4 men from the town had been out on a hike. Day after day, they had tramped through the deep back country of the Grand Canyon. They were just about out of food, but they weren't excited. For they had made arrangements with a grocer in Winslow to fly over a certain point on a certain day and drop more supplies to them. They also had left plenty of red points and warned the grocer to be sure and drop them some good steak, in addition to blankets and water. Finally, the quartet arrived in sight of their goal. And there, sure enough, circling over the appointed spot, was the grocer's plane. The men waved madly, and the bundle immediately was tossed out of the plane. Their mouths watering at the thought of the steak dinner waiting for them, the men dashed to the bundle and quickly untied it. There were blankets and water, all right, and a note, but no steak. The note read, "Here are the blankets and water, fellows, but it's VE Day. All stores are closed, so there's no meat." Many soldiers of both this war and the last will tell you jokingly that there are 3 ways of doing things: the right way, the wrong way, and the Army way. Well, Master Sergeant Bob Davis of Albuquerque, New Mexico, is just about ready to believe it. Davis was stationed at Kirtland Field, about 6 miles from Albuquerque, his hometown. Bob was up for discharge, and a bus token and a transfer would have taken him home. But what happened? The Army sent him on a 600-mile train journey to the separation center at El Paso, Texas. As Bob remarked later, it certainly was the long way home. And now for our most unusual story of the day. The Royer brothers of Livingston, Montana, Bill and Glenn, entered the Army the same day. They served more than 2 years in the Pacific and were returned to camps in the United States, camps more than 1,000 miles apart. Then, the brothers were honorably discharged from the Army on the same day. But the coincidence didn't end there. Private Bill Royer, returning home from Camp Swift, Texas. Private Glenn Royer, returning home from Fort Douglas, Utah. Well, the brothers then compared their papers. They found that they had both been mustered out of service at exactly 1:15 p.m. on Friday, May 18th. And that winds up our Chuckles in the News for today. Tune in tomorrow at the same time when we will again bring you the Chuckles in the News, plus our most unusual story of the day. This is Don Dowd, and this is the American Broadcasting Company.